So in this video, I want to deal with this that you see on the screen. The very way we get out of our poor condition. And of course, I'm referring to Black Americans specifically, but I would argue this should apply to all Black people worldwide. The very way we get out of our poor condition is the very way we got in. It's the very way that we got in. And that might sound a little ambiguous right now, but I'm going to explain it. This video is about getting Black people in America to look at each other as a source of strength to work with, to unify with, regardless of the differences that exist amongst the different, whether it's FBA versus non-FBA, Christian versus Muslim, and all the other things that divide us. We have to realize that we need to come above that in order to get out of what? Let's put it back up. Our poor condition. So what is our poor condition? Well, let's take a look at it. Let me start off with Malcolm. Malcolm X. Let's listen to what Malcolm has to say. That's a go here. Hey, I'm getting used to this. But it's all good. It's all good. We're gonna make it work, man. Let me get my screen going.
Today, this afternoon, it's not our intention to discuss religion. We're going to forget religion. If we bring up religion, we'll be in an argument. And the best way to keep away from arguments and differences, as I said earlier, put your religion at home, in the closet. Keep it between you and your God. Because if it hasn't done anything more for you than it has, you need to forget it anyway.
Okay, so this is a speech that Malcolm made. It's called Ballad or the Bullet. Just giving you some context. The key of what I want to take from this speech, and I encourage people to read it, but the key I want to take from this speech is coming up right now.
Whether you are a Christian or a Muslim or a nationalist, we all have the same problem. They don't hang you because you're a Baptist, they hang you because you're Black. They don't attack me because I'm a Muslim, they attack me because I'm Black. They attack all of us for the same reason. All of us catch hell from the same enemy. We're all in the same bag, in the same boat. We suffer political oppression, economic exploitation, and social degradation. All of them from the same enemy. The government has failed us. You can't deny that. Anytime you're living in the 20th century, 1964, and you walking around here singing, "We shall overcome," the government has failed.
Okay, so, but the key point, the key point is why that is why we're persecuted, right? That is why we're persecuted, because we're Black. It wasn't because we were Muslim or this or that or that. Ultimately, it was because we were Black. That is the legacy of this country. Now, check this out, right? Check this out. Let's look at something right here, man. So the poor condition. Obviously, I used the word poor condition back there in that quotation, right? Very way we get out of our poor condition. So how is the poor condition? This is the poor condition, gentlemen, my people. Okay, let's start with medium. Let's start with this. Go back up, right? Check this out. Income 2020, median household income. Okay. As you can see, this is based on race, guys. Okay. And let me just say, this is coming from the census. I didn't create this. This is coming from the census. And these are 2020 numbers, right? But the key is not even so much the numbers, it's the ranking of the races. That's what has to be paid attention to here, you know? Okay, let me stop at this point just to make this comment, right? Just to make this comment. It's good that the census, which happens every 10 years, so we had the last one in 2020, it's good that the census allows us to determine what our race is, okay? And by the way, according to the census, there are 7 races in the United States of America, right? 7 classification of races, okay? Now, so these are the numbers that really we're going to look at. We're going to look at all these 7 classification of races and where Black people fare amongst them. Okay, that's how we're going to determine what I call a poor condition, because it's good that the census does this, because when you're collecting data, you want as many variables as possible, as many things as possible, so that when you look at the data later, you can start to see, you know, how are things going for these people who were previously enslaved in this country, second-class citizens, you know, for such a long period of their country. How are these people doing today? The people who were discriminated against because of the black color of their skin, right? And as well as facial features. So here, let's go back. Medium household, Black, right there at the bottom. Right there at the bottom. Okay. Period. Marital status, Black, right there at the bottom. 30% of Black people, according to the 2020 census, 30% have marital status. You know, you can see it's right there at the bottom, easily. Once again, Black people are at the bottom, right? And this is critical, because you may look at this and say, oh, okay, well, you know, marriage has changed and society has changed. People are not getting married anymore and all that. But really, I'll be honest with you, you know, this is a sign really of cohesion and structure within the community. You know, just in the 1940s and 50s, whites, blacks, Asians, all these racial classifications, they were married at 80, 90%, you know? So these numbers are not just bad for Black people, they're really bad for the rest of the country too. But as you can see, Black is at the bottom, marital status, right? What else we got? We got family households. Okay, female householder, no spouse present. Look at where the Blacks are. 1 in 5 households are female-headed, with female-headed households. Right? It makes sense. We just saw the stats about we're not getting married. So this also has an influence, you know, these numbers being like this has an influence on the society, you know? And this is why I'm so happy that we are looking at things at race, because now we can really see, okay, I see what's going on here. All right. Why are Black people at the bottom of every single major statistics? Let's continue. Look, housing, owner-occupied units. Again, remember, this is 2020. You can see Black right at the bottom of there. Only 40% of Black people own, right? And it's right there at the bottom. And you see all those other people. And again, when you look at this statistic, okay, what does it tell you? I had my Apple phone doing that. When you look at the statistic, what does it tell you? It tells you that basically Blacks are pretty much putting money in the pockets and building the wealth of the whites and the Asians. Understand what I'm saying? That's really what you see from this, other than just simply blacks are at the bottom. These numbers like this have meaning. Let's move on to another one. Family wealth, racial wealth gap. You can see there from 1984, this goes up to 2021. That is the family wealth. The average family wealth for black people, as you can see, is $24,000 compared to $250,000 for whites. That's white alone and black alone in terms of the classifications on the census. So you can see this, what we call the racial wealth gap. See, and this is a critical thing, you know. So this is the poor condition that I'm talking about. That we as black people, when we look at it, it's like, wow, yo, why we're at the bottom of every statistic, you know. Now let's move on to some of the sadder ones. Unemployment, you know, unemployment. Blacks are always pretty much 2 times higher than the national average. You can see the Native Indians have joined us there as well. And by the way, this is 2020. You know, report came out end of 2025 for unemployment, and black unemployment is actually over 8%. It's about 8.5%. So, you know, this is the poor condition we're in. And when I'm seeing all this, you know, as a black person, I'm saying to myself, gosh, what can we do? What can we do? You know what I'm saying? To change this around, right? Let's look at poverty rates. Let's look at poverty rates. There you go again. That group, that racial group, black people are right there, you know, pretty much the highest again. Why? Is important, yes, but what are we going to do about it? And how are we going to make a move to change this? And that's only the black people in America who even care about this issue, you know what I'm saying? Which is small and dwindling, right? So what else we got? Now, I showed you all those statistics, not good, huge implications on cohesion, community, family, and all that. And then when you couple it with the fact that blacks are pretty much about 12% of the United States population, then you got to say to yourself, oh, okay, these situations then is even worse, you know, because you're such a minority. So you don't have the numbers to really have political power and influence. And one chart that's not here, blacks are 12% of the population, but they represent less than 2% of the entire wealth. Throw that in, okay? And then when you throw it in, what do you get? The poor condition. So like I told you at the beginning, I'm going to explain what I mean by this. So I say the very way we get out of our poor condition is the very way we got in. How did we get in? Malcolm told you, right? It was because we were black. That was the ultimate target point. Whether we were Muslim, Christian, Republican, Democrat, poor, rich, South, whatever, it didn't matter. Those were not the reasons. The reason was that we were black, right? And this is a very, very key understanding that I'm hoping that we can get through here, because what that did is it put a stigma on black people, on the color of the skin, which is an obvious thing, you know? It's not like they were oppressing people who looked like them and they were indistinguishable from them. They were the system oppressed a people based on something that is the most obvious: the skin color, the facial features, but especially the skin color. Sorry, I was thinking of a lot of things there. That's why I was like, okay, how am I going to put this together? Okay, so anyway, So how do we answer the end of this quote? Is the very way we got in. So we got in because we were black, and therefore we were oppressed. So the way that we actually get out of this situation is to unite based on that very skin color, that thing that was oppressing us. Now we have to realize that, oh, wait a minute. We're not Republicans, Democrats, Southerners, Northerners, rich, poor, and all the other things, Baptists and this and that. And, no, we're black. And that is how we get together to change some of these statistics. To change some of these statistics. To change some of these statistics, poverty rates. We have to actually work together because we are actually black. The very thing that has a stigma is the very thing that's going to get us out. And usually life works that way.